Hello and welcome to Go Open, the world's first program dedicated to open source technology. What is open source? I'm covered in open source. It's not that at all. It's big and hot, like a large man in a sauna in India during pawpaw season just outside the Taj Mahal. It's very exciting, and every week we will explain more and more of open source to you, the beloved viewer. And not only that, we'll cover modern technology as well. New gadgets, new things, silver things that whir and make interesting sounds, sometimes with adjustable speeds. We think it's going to be a hit with the women. And then later in the program, we're offering you a chance to win some fantastic prizes. All sorts of things you can wear, things you can plug in, and lights will flash, and you'll be so impressed. You'll have more friends than you've ever had before. All you have to do is answer a simple question all about the show, and you can be a winner. My name is Vlismas. We're going to discover a whole lot of things together. So buckle up, let's ride.
Millions of people around the world are developing software that anyone can freely download, use, modify, and give away. It's a whole new world, and it's challenging the established software companies. Open source is the future of computing.
Coming up a bit later in the program, some exciting news about Quake being open sourced. Quake is a first-person shoot-'em-up game which kind of makes you feel like you're living inside Hillbrow. Now, I don't know if you know this, but many mega blockbusters, such as Shrek and Harry Potter, were all created with the help of a regular PC that was running an open-source platform.
Blue Crush. I'm Stuart Little.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Shrek.
Wow. Let's do that again.
No!
No, you gotta blow in her mouth. Come on.
Coming soon to a theater near you, a blockbuster film made using open source software.
Hollywood has embraced the open source operating system Linux in a big way.
Linux is very interesting because people keep saying, well, you know, next year is going to be the year that it wins the server or that it wins the desktop. You know, Linux is going to be #1.
But what is Linux? It's a free and open source platform, like Windows or the Mac operating system, but it's immensely flexible and very powerful.
But in the motion picture industry, the war is over. Linux has already won. In fact, it won last year.
Robin Roth, founding partner of Movie Editor, spends most of his time consulting to the major Hollywood studios. He helps them maximize their use of Linux in today's cutting-edge special effects and animation. When people watch an animated feature, Robin says they accept that they're watching an entirely constructed world.
It's not only animated movies using this technology.
We're gonna play like Brazilians. Go!
When a studio does special effects, there are two different categories: special effects and supporting effects. Special effects are meant to be noticed.
You're supposed to look at that and say, wow, look at that.
Supporting effects are meant to be invisible. For instance, creating an entire virtual town from an empty field, or making arrows fly through the air. In The Last Samurai, no arrows were ever on set. They were all painted in using an open source application called CinePaint.
Are we going to see lifelike actors made from scratch using Linux?
The choice to live an ordinary life
Don't do
is
it!
no longer an option.
There's some footage of The Last Samurai that you've got where you'll see someone an actor on horseback, and he takes just a terrible spill, he lands on his head. You wouldn't want to do that with an actor.
Sometimes live action needs a bit of computer power to help it along.
The big thing about Linux is it scales well in that kind of environment.
Typically, Hollywood studios work with hundreds of computers linked together in something called a render farm. This creates the equivalent of a powerful supercomputer. It's capable of processing the vast amounts of data needed to render the high-resolution animation and special effects you see.
If you try to deploy 1,000 Windows boxes or 1,000 Macintoshes in a server environment, it can be done. People have done it. Linux has just been around a lot longer as a server, and in fact it was the success of Linux as a server for web pages that really drew the interest of the film industry, and they said, you know, that's not that different from what we do. We just do a lot bigger stuff.
Come on!
Now that Hollywood has embraced Linux,
There's an arrow in your butt!
what can we expect next?
Linux is ubiquitous. It is the standard operating system. Yeah, and it just continues to go forward.
With more drivers and applications being written for Linux every day, it looks like open source is Hollywood's latest, brightest, most colorful superstar.
Am I real, or is this digital now? Because that was a movie, and then here comes the digital. So I'm in between. It's like a digital sandwich with a little John filling. So here it comes. It's hot, and it's Quake.
Don't you just love shooting your friends and getting away with it?
But to most people playing this real-life simulation like this, you have to be super fit and it can be really, really tiring. In comes Quake, a reality first-person shooter game that allows you to fulfill all your psychotic tendencies and a whole lot more, without the exit wounds, of course.
Every time ID Soft releases a new version of their hit Quake, they make the previous version available on the internet, including the source code. Everyone benefits. Gamers change the game to suit their sicko killer ways. Programmers learn more about games engines. And ID Soft gets to passively audition the best programmers in the world. Here's what some open source gaming gurus have done. They've created new graphics libraries to give the dungeons a new look and feel. And if you're keen to make changes of your own, the source code is there waiting for you to delve into. Quake remains one of the world's most popular games at the box office. Perhaps giving away older versions is getting people to go out and buy the new version. Do a Google search for open source Quake now and download your very own free copy and start hacking away.
And I wonder what the open source Quake community have in store for us next.
No, please. Take the children, leave the oil. I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a little joke. Later on, we meet one of the leading figures in the free software movement. Oh yes, Big Richard. He's fantastic. He really is he's huge. Very big. In the world of passive resistance, Mahatma Gandhi was king. In the world of Silicon Valley, girls whose breasts go like that get a lot of attention. But in the world of free software, Richard Stallman is an absolute hero. He started the free software movement and created the GPL, which is basically the GPL, and it's a totally different way of looking at copyright or copyleft.
Right, Richard, firstly, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I want to slightly get into this whole argument between free versus open source. A lot of people say free software is open source, but not necessarily all open source software is free.
Well, I don't really like to talk very much about open source. It's a shallower view of the work that we do, where we say that software ethically must respect your freedom and respect specifically your freedom to cooperate with other people and as a community take control of your computers. They just say that if people let you look at the source code and change it, it'll make the software technically better. Well, that may be true, but it's less important. Imagine people arguing about whether free elections where everyone's allowed to vote would be better or worse for the economy. They're missing the point.
What would you say to people who don't want to use the term free because it implies free of charge? I mean, take Microsoft who say, yeah, free like a puppy.
Well, they're just being silly. You know, people are well aware that free software means free as in free speech, not free as in free beer. It only takes about 3 seconds to say that to people, and it isn't hard for them to understand. Bill
Gates said that how on earth do you expect to make money out of this? You know, as a programmer, you study for this, and you're making the equivalent of $2 an hour. Why would we be concerned about this question? There's a whole implicit chain of reasoning that they expect you to rush through in your head without looking at it carefully. So let's look at it slowly so we can see where its weaknesses are. They first expect you to assume that unless people are well paid to write software, they won't do it. That's where their assumption starts. So then they expect us to want to have lots of software, and that's all we want, they assume.
We don't care if that software respects our freedom or takes away our freedom, just as long as it's there and it runs. The first of these assumptions is factually false. There are about 1 million developers of free software now. Now, the second assumption is about what our values are. And of course, your values could be different from my values, but I'll just tell you that my values are, I don't want software if it doesn't respect my freedom. In fact, I so much don't want it that I won't take it. If somebody offers me a program, but only on the condition that I promise I will not share it with you, then I'm going to tell him no. I'm going to tell him that to be a good neighbor, I have to refuse that software, and I will refuse it.
Oh, it's time to go open. That's what it's time to do. You find open source in the weirdest places. In fact, Pick n Pay, South Africa's largest chain store, has more open source than something with an enormous quantity of source in it. Watch this.
When you go shopping at a major chain like this, you may not be aware of the enormous amount of administration that takes place behind the scenes. Thousands of purchase and sales transactions have to be recorded, and a huge clerical staff have to capture the data. Naturally, they need systems that are reliable and secure.
Pick n Pay strongly supports open source software, right? Especially if there's a strong business need or business reason to deploy open source.
The retail giant has approximately 2,000 terminals using the open source operating system Linux, mainly for capturing data which is fed through to their main database application. More excitingly, the point of sale, that is their till points, are being replaced also with Linux. Part of their decision is based on their experience with Unix.
Pick n Pay has been a Unix shop for a long time, so the skill level to support that is there. The freedom of choice, the platform independence, the scalability and trustworthiness of open source software, it's all there.
The company recently donated over 800 computers to the Shuttleworth Foundation's Tux Lab project. The foundation's boffins wasted no time in refitting the computers to run Linux. Where newer releases of proprietary software may not run on older computers, Linux can be made to run on almost anything. It was an opportunity to help, according to Suzanne Ackerman-Berman of Pick n Pay.
Part of our culture has always been participating in communities and helping uplift the communities who serve us. And we found that the Shuttleworth Foundation were doing this incredible job with the open source education project of computers and schools, and we felt that Tux Labs and the Shuttleworth Foundation had the same value structure as us, and we felt it was a perfect opportunity to work together.
If there's a business need or a business deliverable, right, and the solution is based on an open source environment, Pick n Pay will deploy it.
Ooh, saucy. If you haven't checked out the website for open source yet, I suggest you do it. In fact, I insist you do it right now. Get on your modem and get to the address on your screen right now, which means you won't watch the program. That's not such a good idea. Why don't we all go together? That's what we should do right now. It's time to do it with Mark Shuttleworth, internet billionaire and first African in space. Ladies, he's foxy.
Today we'll be doing it with one of my favorite pieces of open source software, Mozilla Firefox. It's an internet browser, so you use it to surf the internet, just like Internet Explorer or Safari if you use the Mac operating system. But this one has loads of innovative features, it's secure, it's very fast, lightweight, and it's available on Windows, Linux, and the Mac operating system.
One of the most powerful things about Firefox is your ability to customize it with any of a host of extensions. Do ads on the page irritate you? Get more extensions, install the free ad blocker, click on remove this object, and bob's your aunt, it vanishes. You can also search a host of informative sites directly from the page you're on. Need to do a Google search? Type in your query and there you go. Want to check the spelling? Use the drop-down list to choose dictionary.com. And if that's not enough, you can add any search engine you please. Tab browsing is seriously convenient. Stay in one browser and skip from one page to another by clicking the relevant tab. Firefox is highly paranoid on your behalf. It takes security very seriously indeed. With much better security options than any other browser on the market, you're a more secure surfer for free.
Well, that was Mozilla Firefox. things I like most about Firefox are the tab browsing and the security, the fact that I know that I'm much less likely to get a virus if I'm surfing the web using Firefox than if I'm using one of the other browsers out there. Join us next week when we'll be doing it again with open source software.
If you'd like to learn more about how to do it with open source, go to our website www.goopensource.org as opposed to the Lord of the Rings kissing website www.snogorg.org, which is very important. Coming up later in the program, how to handle a GIMP, which is very important. Every home should have one. And also the results of our fantastic competition where you can win everything. That's great. Now, just excuse me, I had a bit of a long weekend, a bit of a virus check to do myself. Thank you. Every week we promise to bring you a boffin in the world of open source technology. This week we meet mobile game designer Diogo Jonkos. How's it, Diogo?
Fine, thanks, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you do. You design mobile games.
Yes, at the moment I'm working from home, designing mobile games, making them, programming and doing the graphics. I'm doing the graphics for a cell phone game called The Bus, which is running...
Is it playing now?
Yeah, this is A Bus. I'm working on this with two of my friends.
It's a bit big for a cell phone.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about, so what are you doing on this particular, this game will play on a cell phone?
Yes, at the moment we're aiming first for Nokia's cell phones, and afterwards we'll convert it to other cell phones. My two friends are doing the programming, and I'm doing the graphics. Before I worked on A Bus, I finished another cell phone game called Demolish, which I did the programming and the graphics, and I sent it to 2 distributors. And that was also for Nokia Series 40 phones. The one distributor has already started distributing it overseas. Locally it's going to be distributed by Exact Mobile.
What does it cost to develop a game?
Cell phone games, most of the tools you can get free. Like for example Nokia, they give you the emulator and the SDK. The SDK is basically the code you need to make it run on Nokia's phones. So that you can get for free from Nokia's site. And the code that you use, Java, you can also get the compilers free. So for a cell phone game, you can basically your only cost will be your time and getting all the phones to test it on.
Tell me about the GIMP.
Yeah, the GIMP is a graphics program. That's what I'm using for all the graphics. The features that GIMP include compared to commercial software, it's very close to commercial software. It basically contains most of the functions.
I mean, do you envisage a time when, let's say, you'll be designing full-scale kind of games, platform-level games for cell phone?
Yeah, it's slowly getting there. Like, for example, Nokia's N-Gage. You can do some good 3D stuff with it. I don't know if there's a game called Tomb Raider. I'm sure a lot of people know that. Now it's working on the N-Gage and it looks pretty good. So cell phones are slowly getting there.
You've used GIMP, which is an open source based program. What's the benefit of using open source when you design a game?
The startup costs for a game company are usually high, and most of that money goes towards software. And because open source is free, it's a huge benefit to use it for starting up.
I mean, you're saying that you use open source initially to save money,
yes.
But it's quite an altruistic kind of idea of making it available all the time. Would you then go on to develop things that other young developers could use as tools? Or, I mean, would you just use it while it suited you and then, go proprietary and then charge people for your games?
If I have time, then I would invest time to make better tools to help people use it as well. And then I would also distribute it for free. But at the moment, GIMP, because it has actually all the features that I need to use, I've never had the need to make any improvements or add anything to it. But if I do, then I would do that.
Thanks for coming in. It's been lovely to have you. Best of luck with your games. I hope they all do very well in the UK.
Thank you.
And may you live long enough to contribute to open source.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Cheers. You might want to get yourself one of these. We call it a pen. It's a very miraculous device that allows you to create paper backups, which is very good. Our competition is coming up in just a minute. In the meanwhile, write down the following website addresses. They're enormous fun, whoopee hey, and they'll teach you to be clever.
Welcome to On the Web. From the inners of Hollywood, we get right to the heart of filmmaking on the internet. If you're a budding Tarantino or Spielberg, Stockstock.org is a film festival that allows you to produce and direct your own brilliant film without shooting a single frame. That's because you get a 30-minute tape of footage from old film archives. It's all stuff in the public domain, and your job is to make your masterpiece by selecting and rearranging all of this odd, mismatched footage. You can change the audio and you can add titles, but that's all. No extra footage. Stock is running the competition again next year, so get your thinking cap on and surf to www.stockstock.org.
You're interested in my hair, do you just want to take me to bed?
If you don't know everything there is to know about film editing, then point your browser at www.everything2.org. Now this is the site for people who literally want to know everything. A quick search on film editing gives us some background hints and tips. And then the real party starts, because you'll be captivated by this site for hours, flicking from one link to another for a comprehensive overview of people's open source, copyright-free opinions. Which brings us to the truly wild and wacky halfbakery.com. This wonderful site is the home of weird inventions and speculation, all public domain and all originated by members of the free site. If you think an idea stinks, give it a negative vote. Fish bones next to an idea means visitors haven't been hooked. Croissants, however, mean the idea is toasty and tasty. Our sites again for this week's On the Web are the filmmaking competition for people who don't want to shoot anything at www.stockstock.org, the online community of encyclopedic knowledge at www.everything2.org, and a full platter of wild inventions at www.halfbakery.com. We'll see you online.
It's time for the competition, as I promised, and those who have paid attention are going to score, and those who haven't will go home with less than someone from Zimbabwe. So here we go. You could win enormous prizes. You can win the LG 17-inch flat screen monitor, which is enormously large and maybe quite intimidating for some men. You can win the LG DVD drives, there's 2 of them, or you can win 1,000 Rand gift vouchers from Soviet Jeans and be the nattiest geek on the block. And the question this week is, Richard Stallman is A, famous Hollywood actor, B, a male supermodel employed by Soviet Jeans as their poster boy, or C, the granddaddy of the free software movement? Wow, that is so difficult. Please SMS your answer. That's movie star, male model, or granddaddy of free software movement to the number on your screen. I believe that's 34357. And remember, it's 2 Rand an SMS, because you could win thousands. It's the end of the show. Just kidding, we come back next week and we'll tell you who the winners of the competition are, so you can be big people, very exciting. We'll also talk about blogging, a new phenomenon which is in the world. I think it's when you get mugged by a blowfish. Very exciting. And also the drive-by internet. Yes, homeboys can now also get connected, which is very exciting. Please visit our website. We've gone to so much effort. It really is something quite special. www. It's like a drum, isn't it? GoOpenSource.org. Please go visit it. And until next week, we shall miss you. I shan't send postcards. I have performed an illegal operation involving a small rodent and myself over a long weekend. So that's it. I will be shut down.